Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. So good to see you all here. We have quite a number of people registered, so we're pretty excited about that. If you don't know me, I am Becky Haushold, and I am the marketing specialist for Midwest Manufacturers, and I am here with a warm welcome from, excuse me, Central Minnesota Manufacturers Association, the Arrowhead Manufacturers and Fabricators Association, and Tri-State Manufacturers Association. We appreciate you guys taking the time from your busy schedule to join us today. We know that there's a lot of webinars to choose from, and we've been pretty specific about what we're choosing, and our goal is to provide content that specifically helps answer your questions as manufacturers and provide you with some solutions. Today we're starting a series on marketing for manufacturers, and this is session 1. Just to note, the next session 2 will be coming up on August 26th, and that one's going to be a deep dive into SEO for manufacturers. But today we're going to be talking about content marketing. Just to note too that a recorded version of today's webinar will be available on the Tri-State, CMMA, and AMFA websites. So if you can check those in a couple days, you should be able to find it. Our presenter today is Scott Severson, and he is the president of BrandPoint, a content marketing agency. Scott has been in the digital marketing for over 20 years, and he is here today to share some of his expertise. So please help me welcome Scott Severson.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. I'm really honored to be speaking with you all and excited to be kicking off your series on marketing. I think it's a good topic because it's really foundational to a lot of marketing activities. So I am Scott Severson, the president of BrandPoint, and we have been in the content marketing business since 1996. So we've been at this for a while. And today I am going to be sharing some ideas and tactics on how you can use content marketing best practices to help grow your business. And this is all going to be based on our experience with over 500 clients. Today I'm going to be sharing perspectives that you can do yourself. And if you don't have the bandwidth to pursue these ideas, we are obviously happy to lend a hand. At the end of this session, we are going to be doing a short Q&A based on how much time we have available. So as I'm going through this, please make note of any questions that you may have. Also, we have a great ebook that covers a lot of the ideas that I'll be discussing today, and we're going to be sending everyone a copy of that after the webinar. In our ebook, we're going to be covering what a healthy content marketing practice looks like in your organization, what are the components that you want to have in place, and how to have strength in each area. And we'll email a copy of this, so be on the lookout for it in your inbox. Okay, to start off, a little bit about BrandPoint. We are a full-service content marketing agency. We work with a variety of companies to execute content marketing programs that generally fall into the goals of helping them drive traffic, helping them generate leads, and ultimately helping them grow their sales. Manufacturing clients are a particular practice area for BrandPoint, and I'm happy to report that the manufacturing clients that I've recently spoken to, their businesses are holding up quite well during the pandemic and the challenges that we are all facing, and I hope that's true for all of you on the webinar today as well. So for BrandPoint, our engagements typically start by helping our clients with their strategy. And strategy is all about answering basic questions. What are we developing? Who are we developing it for? And probably most importantly, why are we developing it? I think strategy is really about bringing to life a vision for who your customer is, what their customer journey looks like, and then what content they need to inform each step of that journey. Once we've identified that strategy, we then have teams of writers and designers and web developers and even videographers who will create that content to execute that vision. Another thing that's unique about BrandPoint is we also have a proprietary content distribution network to help our clients get their stories in front of brand new audiences on 1,100 top media publications like the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, and even USA Today. So that was how I explain what I do, and this is pretty much what my family thinks I do, which maybe isn't that far off when it comes down to it. Okay, so to get us started, we need to agree on what we are talking about. What do we even mean when we say content marketing? Well, there are a lot of definitions out there, but this is my favorite definition from the Content Marketing Institute. And they say that content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. If you remember only one thing from this definition, I would like you to remember the term valuable and ask yourself, are you providing true value to your audience through your content? If you're not providing true value through your content, my belief is you will not see the profitable customer action part that we really all want to see. I believe, and I have seen through our clients, that content marketing is the key to connecting with your audience, building your brand, and ultimately growing your sales, which is what we all want to do. So as it relates to your business, as a manufacturer, I think these are the questions that we need to answer today. How do we support your business goals with the content that you create? How do we deploy content to generate more leads for our business? And how do we employ content to nurture those leads into customers? So those are the things that we're going to attempt to cover today. So before we dive into that, a quick poll to make sure everybody's still with me is, what is the biggest challenge that you are facing in marketing right now? What is on your mind? What's on fire for your business? What's keeping you up at night? And we'll just give a second to answer that while I take a drink of water. Okay. Everybody is getting that answered quick, and we'll see the result in just a second. And here we go. So COVID-19 is understandably the biggest challenge that you all are facing right now, quickly followed by canceled events. And that's been pretty true of our manufacturing clients as well. And I think it really underscores the need for digital content today, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, so clearly we have some challenges, and we anticipated some of these. So I think it begs the question, why is now a good time to be focused on content marketing? And one of the things that we've all been challenged with is increasingly our interactions with our customers are online. And content marketing, in my opinion, has moved from a nice to have to a need to have. And it's also important to lay that foundation to keep pushing your business forward for success when this is all over. Further, I think we have some unique challenges, and these are some of the things that we hear from our manufacturing clients that are kind of unique to the business that you all are in. And so one of the things that comes up a lot with our customers is there's a lot of complexity in your business, and this often requires deep expertise to understand and use. Some of our clients talk about the fact that they believe they are in a dull industry. And I think the challenge there is that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy and result in creating content that isn't that interesting. And from my opinion, there are no dull industries, just bad content. Your audiences expect expertise. Most of our manufacturing clients tell us their customers are not looking to be sold to. What they do expect is efficiency and expertise that they can trust. Longer buying cycles. Most of you have a longer buying cycle for the equipment and products that you produce. And finally, specialization, I think, is an issue that we face. Many of us offer products and solutions that are highly specialized. They're niche, they're custom situations, and I think content can really help make these use cases much more tangible and relatable to how your prospects can leverage your products, for their areas. Use cases, I think, become incredibly important when we are highly specialized. And then finally, many of our manufacturing clients have multiple decision makers involved in the purchasing process, and it can be difficult to get to the right subject matter expert. So given all of these issues, it really makes a strong case for investing in creating content that your customers can be excited about. So to give us a backdrop for that conversation, let's take a little step back in time to 2008. And in 2008, I think our world was a lot less complex than it is today. It's certainly true for the world that we operate in at BrandPoint. And as we think about media, it was pretty binary. Paid media was something that advertising focused on, and earned media was something that PR agencies did. And 12 years ago, believe it or not, we weren't thinking a whole lot about shared or owned media, at least not in the way that we talk about that today. So while this siloed approach certainly made it a lot easier for me to talk to my family about what I do for a living, it's no longer true. Today, it is a lot more complex. This is what our media landscape looks like today. It's a blending of paid, earned, shared, and owned media. We call that PESO for short. And within each PESO category, you can see that you have an array of tactics to choose from. Going back to our definition, these all touch on different aspects of content marketing. And our perspective is you need to find the right mix of tactics from each of these categories to achieve our goals. So with all of this complexity, when I am approaching PESO for a client, I like to think of it more, the metaphor that I have in my head is like we are building a house. And when you build a house, you start with a foundation that is super strong, and then you build up from there. And so that's how I like to look at it and create priority. And my perspective and my opinion is that your owned media channel is the foundation of your media strategy and your content marketing strategy, and everything grows up from there. I recommend to our customers that your owned media channel is where your very first marketing dollar should be spent. $1 on owned. And the reason for that is I have two core reasons. One is your owned media is going to help you attract an audience based solely on the value of your content. It's going to establish your expertise, it's going to build trust, and it's going to pay dividends over a very long time horizon. So it's a good investment. The second reason is this strong owned media foundation is going to make all of your other efforts, your paid, your earned, and your shared channels, all the more effective. If you don't have this, you're going to be challenged in everything else that you do. And so today, we really need to be, and our customers expect us to be, in every channel where they want us to be in. So we need to be effective in all of these areas to varying degrees. So let's break them down a little bit. First, we're going to start with owned media because this is where everything begins. And owned media, as a definition, is the content that you've created. This is everything that lives on your website. It's your blog, your resources, your videos, everything. So why am I so fanatical about it? Why does it matter so much? Is creating great content really going to grow your business and grow your sales? Now, before I answer that, a quick poll to set us up for that conversation. What percentage of customers, what do you think the percentage of customers are that begin their relationship with a company without ever talking to a human? What is your guess on that? Okay, let's give it a second. Let's see the results. Man, you guys are good. Okay. Well, Google says 71% of, in this case, B2B buyers begin their customer journey with an unbranded search. So I believe that the answer is a resounding yes to that question. And your owned media, your owned content is critical for that, because if I search for any of your companies by name, I'm going to assume that your website will be in the first result. But the problem is your potential customers are usually not searching for you by name. They're searching for solutions. They're searching for answers to their questions. They're not searching for you. And so what that means is if you don't have content that is going to help you show up in these search results, you are nearly invisible to 3/4 almost of your potential audience. That is a big opportunity cost. And if you want to show up in unbranded search results, great content is the price of admission, pure and simple. Further on this, today customers they expect to have digital interactions with companies. According to Gartner, customers manage 85% of their relationship with a company or brand without ever talking to a human. And this stat was actually pre-pandemic. I expect it's even higher today. And this is only going in one direction. And I think it only makes sense. How many of you like to talk to a salesperson when you are just beginning to research a product or service? Most of us don't. Google says it's like 10% of us like to start that way. Most of us, when we're very high in the funnel, we want to do our own research. We want to understand what the opportunities are. And I think your digital content is critical to this relationship and building your business. This means your content needs to guide the majority of your customer journey. It needs to make your case. It needs to tell your value story. And you also need a website that is easy to navigate. And I think this This is particularly true with manufacturers with a lot of SKUs. We just found a recent stat, according to the Thomas survey, that said 76% of industrial buyers find difficult navigation as the most important reason for leaving a website without considering buying. Similarly, 61% prefer suppliers with search capabilities on their website to make it easy to find the content that they are looking for. So we are moving to this world that is increasingly digital, and it does take investment to win in that area. All right, so hopefully I've made the case effectively for how important having strategic content on your website is. Let's just do it. Piece of cake, right? No problem, just get it done. So in reality, that's easier said than done, and it can be a little tricky, and frankly, that's why we have customers. But I'm here to tell you that you can do this on your own. And so the question is, where do you begin? Let's look at some examples. So a blog is a great place to start for most companies, and these are examples of blogs that we do and power for some of our clients. And our clients use their blog to both attract audience and cement trust in their expertise. They also weave in references and links to their other owned media. I think the key here is to make sure your content is truly valuable to your audience. A great place to start, because most of you probably have a blog right now, but ask yourself the question, am I updating it frequently? Is it valuable? If I were to poll your customers or your prospective customers, does your blog answer the top 10 or 20 questions that they have? Do we have in-depth, easy to find answers to those questions? So this is really that foundational element and a good place for you to start thinking about it. Video is incredibly powerful, and it's a great example of owned media. So videos of your facilities or your processes or your capabilities are incredibly valuable, and they're indexed for search. So here's a video that we created for our client, Birchwood Contract Manufacturing. I'm just going to play a couple of seconds of it to give you a feel. Hopefully I'm going to here. It's buffering. We'll give it a second.
For 65 years, Birchwood Contract Manufacturing has helped companies bring their products to market. We provide mixing, filling, testing, packaging, and shipping for a wide range of products. Birchwood crafts solutions for cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, medical devices, and industrial use. We assure quality control by following current good manufacturing practices. Our facility is both FDA and EPA registered.
So this goes on for a while, but it gives you a flavor. You can really tell an immersive story about your business really effectively through video, and we are doing more and more of that kind of work for our customers. Other examples of owned media would include specific content that is opportunistic around the search queries where you want to show up in front of your customers. It can be tactical information like how to do business with you, how to request a quote. It could be technical content like is there a certain certification that you hold that your prospects might be searching for? It could be tools. Do you have a checklist or an estimating tool or useful calculators that you use? So those are some additional owned media ideas. Gated content is another example of owned media, and creating and sharing gated content is a great way to both acquire leads and engage your audience. So a gated piece of content is really anything that the audience has to earn access to, and the price of admission is usually their contact information. So gated content can be more in-depth information on topics that you cover. It can be an ebook, it could be a white paper, it could be a checklist or a tool or a template. It can also be access to further education. Maybe you have a workshop that you do for your clients. It can be a webinar like this as an example of gated content. The key with gated is it provides you a lead. It provides your lead with valuable content that boosts your credibility and earns trust. And with that prospect's email, you can start to nurture these leads to become supporters, followers, and future clients, all while growing your brand recognition and online traffic. And this is a very basic example of what that would look like or could look like in terms of a nurture post-gated asset. All right, that was owned media. Let's move on to earned media. And this section of Peso encompasses your relationship with media like journalists and website owners and bloggers. It's all about gaining free exposure and publicity that will boost your brand awareness. And I say free with air quotes because it's only free if you don't value your time. So, like I said at the beginning, earned media used to be the sole responsibility of PR agencies, but that's not entirely the case anymore. And you can do a lot of this work on your own. Here's a few examples of what tactics could look like. So first is PR work, and that's really just forming relationships with journalists and website owners that fit your target market who will share your story. Another one is getting quoted. Submit your expertise to bloggers in your industry. Offer to do a guest interview. If you're quoted on their website, you can ask for a backlink back to your website. Reviews are a wonderful source of earned media. Your customers can do this for you. So solicit and share reviews of your work. It's really going to be helpful in search. And then finally, guest posts. Create thought leadership articles to be published on sites other than your own would be an example of earned media. On that last point, I've personally found strategic guest posting to be incredibly beneficial for our brand and our business. And I contribute to sites like Forbes and the Content Marketing Institute. And we found it's a great way to expose our perspective to new audiences. And the backlink that we get from this placement offers some SEO benefit back to our site and helps us show up more. One of the big challenges with earned media is I think it's probably the most difficult and time-consuming aspect of Peso. And here's why. Most people do not like pitching journalists. It's incredibly time-consuming and it's not very effective. 57% of journalists receive over 500 pitches in a week. Having your pitch stand out is a long shot. And now that is for general media. If you are pitching to a niche publication in your industry, it's likely not that high, but I still think the same idea holds true. So as a result, it does take more time and energy to secure earned media than it ever has before. So for most of our clients, as it relates to earned, I recommend being very strategic, securing all the low-hanging fruit that makes sense for your business, but probably focus more on some of the other tactics that we're going to talk about. Okay, a quick poll before we move to the next category. I want to know if you've incorporated paid elements into your marketing strategy. I'm assuming most of you have, but some maybe have not. This should be a pretty quick answer. Okay. And most have, but a decent amount have not. So maybe we can spark some ideas as we move into our next category, which is paid media. And I think paid is a way to amplify your other tactics, where owned is a foundational element. It can be made much more effective by adding paid to the mix. I think paid media is the most predictable way to get your content seen by new audiences in a very saturated landscape. Also, one of the things I really like about paid media tactics is you're able to target your ideal customer profile with your content. We have better targeting capabilities today than we have ever had before, which is pretty exciting. So some tactics. Here's our view on some of the top paid media tactics that work really well with your content marketing. First is pretty obvious, but it's one of the big areas, is Google Ads or Bing Ads. But Google has most of the market share, and that's just about creating campaigns to drive people back to your site. I recommend using Google Keyword Planner to understand where do you have search opportunity, and this can also inform the content that you create on your site. One of the things that we talk to our clients about that are doing a lot of paid is the relationship between their owned media and their paid media. Because if you have really great owned media, Google will assess a positive quality score to your ads that are related to that media. And the result of that is better click-through rates and lower CPCs. We see in some cases you're able to lower your cost per click by 30% by improving your quality score and having good content. So the two work really well together. Another one is promoted social posts. This is looking like a normal post in a feed, but the thing I like about it is the ability to target a very specific audience is pretty awesome. Third one, if you have a really great content asset that works really well for you, you can syndicate that asset on content discovery platforms and expose it to new audiences, which is a great tactic. Finally, consider creating and distributing sponsored content on related news or media websites or targeted industry sites within your niche. On that last point, sponsored content is very powerful and effective. And what we have seen true to be paid, or seen to be true in paid media, is your audience really does not care if the content is sponsored or not. Consumers respond to quality. If your content is quality and engaging, whether it's sponsored or not has zero bearing on whether or not it performs. So I encourage you to create content that features your unique value, your expertise, and then distribute that content to high quality and trustworthy websites. It's a great way to scale up your reach and credibility. To see this in action, we have a client that manufactures high-end roofing products. So they are more on the B2C side of our manufacturing clients. We also have a lot of B2B. But this particular client had us distribute an article to our network of publishers, and it happened to be seen by some folks at Menards, the $10 billion lumber and home improvement retailer. And after seeing the article, Menards actually reached out to our customer about carrying their product in their stores. It's a lot easier for them when the company is coming to them to have a conversation than maybe making a cold call into Menards. So today you can go to Menards and buy their roofing products, all because of one piece of content that was particularly effective and widely distributed to create awareness. And obviously we love seeing this connection between a great paid placement that results in a huge win for our client. So this leads us to our last segment of PESO, shared or social media. And I love this quote by Jay Baer: "Content is fire and social media is gasoline." We recommend that you use social to share unique content and shine a light on all of your other owned, paid, or earned media efforts. Social is really an amplifier of all of your other tactics. So one aspect of social that is big is influencers. Influencer marketing is also something that scares a lot of people, and there's negative connotations around influencer marketing. I happen to disagree. In fact, this post has me thinking that I should incorporate Kim Kardashian's Sugar Bear hair supplement into my hair care routine. It might help me. So kidding aside, personally, even though I cannot afford to hire Kim Kardashian or even Khloe for that matter, I am a big fan of the concept of influencer marketing. And I like to think of influencers as advocates and people that your shared group of industry peers and readers and potential clients will trust. And I think the key is to choose influencers who are right for your brand. My funny example with Ms. Kardashian, she's probably not right for most of your brands, maybe, but I'm guessing not. But I'm guessing somebody like an Adam Savage might be more effective for your brand. And in this example, Adam Savage posted a video where he reviewed Spot by Boston Dynamics. And I learned a ton about Spot from Adam's video. I was entertained at the same time. And that's where the magic happens. I was in his audience. I was not in Boston Dynamics' audience. And he exposed me to a new product that I think is really cool and innovative. And so the tactic here with influencers is, if it makes sense for your business, find the right people, the right influencers that have an audience to advocate for you and share your story with their audience in the hopes that their audience can become your audience. So all of you know that social, to varying degrees in the manufacturing space, is a piece of telling your story in the marketing world today. And this is not a bold claim in 2020. But did you know that content on social has an average half-life that both keeps people engaged, but it also makes your content somewhat forgettable? So when you create a post, on average, you are going to get 75% of all of the engagement your post will ever receive within this period. Now, I get all of these platforms are probably not appropriate for your brand, but some of them are. And I think it's kind of interesting to think of how long it takes to get 75% of all of your engagement. So log your guess in your head right now. How long do you think it takes for Twitter? 18 minutes. 75% of all the engagement you're ever going to get, 18 minutes. Facebook is a little longer. Instagram, 21 hours. LinkedIn, 24 hours. So think about that when you are laboring over these posts. They don't last very long. Now, YouTube is interesting, 20 days. So that's a lot longer. And we've seen examples where it's even longer than that. Pinterest was interesting to me, 4 months. And then finally, I didn't have an icon for your owned media, but just as a comparison, your owned media last 2 years or more to get 75% of all of the engagement. So certainly has a longer tail. I think the takeaway on this slide is, if you are not already producing and posting content to YouTube, it should be on your list of tactics to explore yet this year. I think this also makes the case for the sheer value and the payback of the owned media that you're creating on your site. Okay, so that was an overview of paid, earned, shared, and owned media tactics as they relate to content marketing. Now the question is, where do you start? What's your first step in taking advantage of all of these things that we talked about today? Well, my recommendation with anything marketing related is to always begin with the customer first. So the key to being effective in each of these channels is understanding your target audience. As we truly understand our audience, our creative is more targeted, it's more appropriate for the channel, and as a result, it performs better. So in really super basic terms, I think it's about answering 3 questions. Who are the personas of the people that you want to reach? How do they find you now? And to me, this is a really interesting one. What does their journey to becoming your customer look like? So quick poll, how many different personas have you developed for your company? I'll give it a second. And survey says most of you have done 1 to 2. A handful have done none. We can talk about that. And some of you have really developed a lot of segments. So I think that's an interesting result. But the majority about 1 to 2. Okay, well, for the nuns, here's what it looks like. This is an example of a buyer persona for one of our customers. And if you haven't gone through this exercise, a buyer persona is literally just a fictional character that is created as a proxy for your overall target audience. And this audience archetype, I think, helps make your audience more relatable and tangible. And it's all about identifying aggregate patterns of behavior and demographics and motivations that result in commonly held challenges and goals. So I think the more you can understand about who your current and then potential customers are, it just makes your job so much easier in developing the right content that's going to help them discover you and then progress through your sales funnel. So for example, your manufacturing company's target audience may be design engineers, or maybe you have one that is procurement managers or even MRO managers. So create a persona for each one of those and be as detailed as you can. And then I think the other key to creating these personas is it doesn't do you any good if you create this and you do this wonderful work and then it just sits in somebody's drawer or sits on somebody's hard drive somewhere and no one ever looks at it. Pull these out, talk about them in your marketing meetings, and then use them when you're creating content. When we're writing for one of our clients, our writers pull this out and they're thinking about Rob and they're thinking about what Rob's challenges are and how Rob likes to talk and what his voice is. And it's helpful to have somebody in mind when you're creating content to just think about how it's going to resonate with them. So as you're building a persona, you're going to need data. And most of our manufacturing clients really leverage their salespeople a lot for customer insights, which is a great source of truth. But it's not the only source of truth. And, you know, we want to look to other techniques such as your analytics, your keyword research, your competitive ranking, and other techniques to understand where do you have opportunities that are not being met and what do these customers look like. So here's just some different examples of where you can go to kind of flesh this out. Once we have a persona, we want to understand the thought process and pain points and challenges and potential solutions. I think this really helps us understand what the customer needs and allows us to deliver more targeted, relevant, and meaningful content to the audience. So we want to kind of flesh this out a little bit more. Once we've outlined our personas, challenges and solutions, the next step is to get in their head. And for me, this is the most fun kind of aspect of all of this, is to really think about Rob and think about what does his customer journey look like, and then how can we enhance that? What stages need content? What stages maybe need a salesperson involved? Where can we apply video? And thinking about that funnel and mapping it out each step of the way, and make sure we have content at each of these stages that's going to help him progress through that funnel. I think this is a really fun exercise to do. So think about these stages and then map them out. So as we look at this, this was a very brief and simple view of developing a persona, mapping their customer journey, and then developing a content plan that supports that journey. We can certainly get a lot more complex in our client work, but this is the basic idea that we pursue. And I think it's a great place. If you're not doing this, it's a wonderful place for you to start and map this out. And hopefully it's as simple as that. So by using the PESO model as a guide, you're going to be sure to cover each aspect of content marketing strategy and be in every channel where your customers are. We've nailed, or we've covered the basics of creating a content marketing strategy to boost awareness, create more traffic, leads, and sales. And now I'm going to give you some takeaways and some actions that you can do right now to hopefully impact your business. We want you to have a tangible takeaway that can make your business better this week, hopefully. So the first one is to nail down your target audience, if you haven't done that already. If you haven't started a blog yet, or you're not updating it as frequently as you should, or you're not answering your customers' questions, either start that blog or dust it off and invest in it, because it's really important. Encourage customer reviews. If you're not doing this, it's a wonderful source of earned media. Experiment with Google Ads or social advertising, or both. I think that's very important. And then finally, reflect on, does influencers make sense for your industry? Or who are the thought leaders in your industry that you can partner with for shared? So if you can do one thing in each one of these categories, I can guarantee you it will generate a positive result for you. And my hope is now you are full of awesome content marketing ideas and ready to just get after it and start creating great strategic content. That would be awesome. If you're not quite there yet, you can contact me. We're happy to lend a hand, and we really like working with manufacturing clients. Regardless of how you do it, the bottom line is I firmly believe that everyone has a great story to tell. And by using some of these principles that we talked about today, we can hopefully help you show up, engage your audience, and win more business. So thank you so much for your time and attention today, everybody.
Thanks, Scott, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We're now going to open the floor up for questions, so feel free to use the chat feature to send us any questions you have, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. So I'll just give you a couple seconds to do that. Looks like a popular question we get a lot is, how do you measure the ROI for content marketing programs?
Hmm. I could probably do a whole webinar on that. It's a complex topic. One of the ways that I like to approach it, which doesn't tell the entire story, but is one of the most quantitative ways to address it, is, if you're not in the CEO's seat and you're in the marketing seat and you're saying, I want to invest more in this, one of the ways that we tell our clients to look at it is to think about what the value of the traffic that you are creating is, and what would you have to pay for that traffic if you were buying those keywords on Google. And so that's something that you can back into to understand what is the cost per click for the keywords where you're getting organic owned media traffic from. And then we recommend to extrapolate that over a 2 to 3 year period, because creating that one great content asset generates traffic for our clients for years. So think about what that value is and multiply it times per month, and then multiply that times 2 to 3 years. That gives you at least one tangible thing that you can look at. But there's other things you can look at too, just about, like, are you generating more leads from this? Are you generating more sales? Is the time to getting a sale reduced? Is it freeing up time for your salespeople to work on higher payoff activities? There's a lot of ways that you can slice this. The one kind of seed that I like to plant with our customers is, if you're looking for an immediate result right now, today, buy paid search, because it's going to give you an immediate result. Content marketing is a lot more like working out. You're not going to see a result in the first week or month, but it's something that if you do consistently over time, you see a great benefit. And unlike buying just paid ads, which the benefit stops immediately as you stop spending, your investment in content marketing pays dividends for years into the future.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks like we have another question. So as far as sharing your expertise on your blog, why would you want to educate your customers and help your competition?
Well, it's kind of like there is a quote around training your employees, and if we train them, they might leave and get a better job. And I think the response to that is, but what if we don't train them and they stay? If you are not investing in training and providing value to your potential customers, and your competitors are making that investment to train and provide value to the audience, guess who they're going to trust? Guess who's going to show up in search? And guess who they're going to probably buy from? So the more you can share high quality content and be seen as the leader, it's going to generally benefit your business more.
Yeah, for sure. Does anyone else have any other questions before we wrap things up? Give you a couple seconds, and if not, then we can close things up for today. Okay, it looks like we have a couple more questions. So Patty is wondering, do you have any favorite content marketing program platforms?
I guess I would ask around if there's more definition around that. So are you talking about software programs?
Yeah, let's see if she follows up. She said yes, layout.
Oh, okay. Well, I think there's a lot of ways to think about that. We actually have a great content asset on our website on brandpoint.com that kind of lays out your marketing technology stack. That's how we refer to it. And there are kind of multiple layers of technology that you want to have in place to be effective at deploying all of these things. You have your website CMS, you might have a marketing automation layer, a layer that sits above that, and there's other players in this space, but it's a software that we offer that is a content marketing purpose-built software that allows you to create your editorial calendars, create the content in the tool, manage approvals and kind of that tracking that process, and then managing the publishing of that content to your website, to your marketing automation layer, and to all of your social channels, if that's what you're talking about. But we have a great resource around kind of looking at that from multiple layers on our website.
She said, perfect, thank you. And then another question, I know we discussed one thing that people can do now is to get customer reviews and kind of ask for those. So Rachel is wondering, what is the best way to ask or get customer reviews?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways to do it. One of the ways that I think is very effective is if you're using any type of marketing automation software to make soliciting a customer review part of your post-delivery process, and to be very explicit about almost a binary response. If you are thrilled with what we delivered for you, we ask you, in a more eloquent language than this, but we would greatly appreciate if you would mind submitting a review and provide them a link to do it, to make it really easy. But then give them the alternative. If you are not completely satisfied with what we just delivered to you, give them a recourse to contact you to make the situation right, versus if they don't feel like they have any recourse, you don't want them going to leave a negative review either. So I think that's a best practice, to send a post-delivery follow-up email that either solicits that review or gives you an opportunity to make it right if it's not going to be a 5-star review.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so it looks like we might have time for one last question, and if anybody else has questions afterwards, feel free to email Scott and ask your questions. But it looks like Kurt is wondering, do videos put out by manufacturing or really any company need to be professionally done, or do people see cell phone type videos as valuable? Don't know if that hurts because it is seen as cheap.
I think it depends on the nature of the video. So like in the example that I shared with Birchwood, where it is what we call a mixed media video that has animation, where we're shooting their facility. There's a fair amount of work that goes into storyboarding it, really capturing the story that the client wants to tell, mapping all those things out, setting up the shots, doing the custom animation, doing the voiceover work, doing the music. I think those types of videos are probably worth investing in having somebody professionally do that, and the costs are probably more approachable today than ever. There are other types of videos that are completely appropriate for using your iPhone to shoot. That could be things like employee engagement, or telling employee stories, or informal communications, or maybe interviewing a customer briefly when you're on site. You've got that phone with you all the time, and when the opportunity arises, take advantage of that and shoot those informal videos and post them on your site.
Yeah, very true. It's nice to have that easy accessibility to our phones to be able to do that. Well, I think that's all the time that we have for today. Like I said before, if anybody has other questions, feel free to email Scott, but I'll pass it off to Scott to wrap things up.
Great. Well, sorry we went a little bit long, but I just want to say thank you to everybody and appreciate your attention. And I hope this was helpful. I hope you got a couple of nuggets out of it that can make your business better. And if you have any questions, my contact info is on the screen. Please reach out and have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Scott.